Wichita is our programs manager. So we are the two that oversee all these grants. Next slide. Okay, so a little bit about us. There's a lot of confusion on whether we're UF or the Florida Department of Agriculture. We work closely with both those organizations, but we are neither. We are our own separate nonprofit, and our funding comes almost 100% from that license plate right there. We call it the Ag Tag. It is currently being refreshed, and hopefully in the next year we'll have a more modern looking license plate. And our mission is to be the leading collaborator and trusted provider of pre-K through 12th grade educational resources and professional development. So, all right, to jump into the grants, those of you guys who have gotten grants from us before. Oh, and I meant to say, at any point, if you guys have questions, if we don't see your hand raised, go ahead and either unmute you and ask the question or type it into the chat. So we want to be here to answer any questions that you guys might have. I'm going to go through the PowerPoint, Jen and I are, and then we're going to open it up to questions. So you can ask us anything you guys need. So you are required, whether it's the teacher grant or the school garden grant, you are required to use an agriculture lesson. It can be our lessons, it can be National Ag in the Classroom lessons. So those two links, and I'll have this on our website by the beginning next week. There are tons of lessons on those two websites, and I put school garden resources, but we do have other lessons. We have make and takes, we have activity newspapers. You do not have to use our lessons exactly as they're written. You can just use a theme. You can use one of the activities in it. You do not have to use them verbatim. Make them work for your room, for your classroom. You do have to do a pre-test and a post-test to show that there was a gain of knowledge. You do not have to use our pre-test and post-test. If your kids are at the age where all they can do is raise their hand, that's okay. Make the pre-test and post-test work for your classroom. Hopefully that makes sense. All of our stuff is on our website. This is specifically for the school garden grants, which I'm sure most of you guys are on here for. About a year or so ago, we with UF IFAS Family Nutrition Program, we created this Florida School Garden Planner. And the point of this is we know that school gardens are hard. They take a lot of work, and they take a lot of people to be successful, and there isn't a lot of sustainability. There's a lot of turnover. So we just kind of hoped if we created this document, it might help with the planning of it a little bit more. So the first thing that we require on the school garden application is a vision statement. So we have created this little document where you can go through and answer these questions. So I want you guys to think about this as outlining. So answer these questions. At the end, take all those questions and form them into a sentence. And then you make your first draft, and then you make your final draft. So just really work on this. And this is a great way to tell people why you're doing it, like why you're doing it, who you're reaching, that kind of thing. This is also a great promotional. If you're asking other people for money, give them your vision statement, put it outside your garden, let people know why you're doing what you're doing and the impact you hope to do. And yes, we will have the presentation on our website. We probably will not send it out to everybody, but it will be there on our website. So vision statement is required. We understand that this is new for a lot of you. If you guys have not been to our SGLT workshops, this might be a little rough. Jen, do you have something?
No.
Okay. All right, next one. Oh, the next one's you. Okay, this is Jen.
Yeah. So when we go through these applications, we see a lot of goals that are not measurable, that don't have numbers in them. And when we're collecting data for the grants that we give out, we want to see those numbers. We want to see those goals. So when we ask you to make these goals, there's two ways you can think of it: SMART goals or MAD goals. SMART, specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time bound. I think we've probably all heard SMART 100 million times in our lives. MAD is something that I learned when I worked for Florida Virtual School, but it's just a shorter version, which is measurable, attainable, and deadline driven, which we have it up there. Yeah, wrong, but that's okay. But the goal is, when you think of measurements, when you think of time, when you think of numbers. So you don't want to say, with your goal, I just want my kids to have an increase of knowledge. What's the increase of knowledge goal there? Are you wanting them to go from having doing a pretest, they're getting an 80% on the pretest? Is that the goal? Is they're going from a 60 to an 80? Do you want 75% of your students to have that increase? Are you shooting for 50% of your students? And then give it a deadline by the end of the school year, by the end of the semester, by the time you harvest your garden. You want to have numbers, you want to have specifics in there, because when we pull this stuff out, we want to be able to see that you have achieved those goals. And when we respond to our stakeholders that, are giving and approving of the funding and things like that to support these gardens, those goals help us be able to tell that story of what your school gardens are doing and how they're affecting student achievement throughout the state. So super important that those goals are specific, they're measurable, you have a deadline in them, and you're matching those to what your program needs.
And I'm going to step back a second, and I realized I didn't actually explain the difference of our two grants. So both of our grants applications will be online by this afternoon. We have our school garden grants. Those are $500. Those are specifically for gardens. We are funding those grants through our license plate funding. So they can be any type of garden. They can be pollinator. They can be vegetable, they can be fruit. It really doesn't matter as long as it's a garden and you're using it to teach. But again, those are only $500. The teacher grant is for anything that is a larger garden or a larger project, and it can have anything to do. We have media specialists that want to do books and hydroponics, and we have social studies teacher that want to do the history of agriculture, or the different wars, that kind of stuff. Or we have chickens. I know that chickens are very popular. So that would be what the teacher grant is for. We have changed it up. I definitely recognize some of the names in here. This year we've changed it a bit. I have had people that have had trouble with the online applications in the past. We have had trouble getting good budgets, good timelines. Lee, I'll answer your question in a second. So what I've done this year is we have created documents. You are going to download these documents onto your computer. You are going to take your time, fill them out, and then you're going to email them back to me so that you'll have those documents, one email, and I'll go over that in just a minute. So the teacher grants, we have changed that as well. Now that there's more teachers, which we love it, there's more people doing these projects. In the past, especially with COVID, we didn't have as many teachers, so we allowed that to be up to $5,000. We want to fund as many people as we can. So we have changed it. So if you are a returning applicant and you want to continue a project, you can ask up to $2,000. I don't have this in front of me either. I think that's what I said. If you are a brand new project, you can ask up to $3,000. You can apply for both, but if we have an excess of applicants, we want to fund as many projects as possible. So we're probably only going to fund one or the other. And seeing where we were last year and how many applications we got last year, I really think there's going to be a lot of people that are interested in this. So probably this year, pick which one works the best for you and just write a really great application. So when you are working with the school garden grant, you're going to have a application. You're going to have a budget, which is a Excel spreadsheet, and you are going to have a timeline, which is a Word document. So 2 Word documents, an Excel spreadsheet. You guys need to see that it says your school name underscore and then the rest of the document. You need to change where it says your school name to your actual school name when you send these back. Please do not send me a Google Drive. Do not send me a OneDrive. Our network goes through UF. It does not always let me open all those. So please send them as an attachment. You can save them as PDFs. That's fine. I have said in the instructions what to make the subject line of your email. That way we don't get them lost. They will automatically get dumped into a folder. So the teacher grant is going to have those same 3 documents. They're going to have the grant application, the budget, and the timeline. But they also are going to be required to have a letter of support from their administrator. And the reason why we do that is because those are bigger projects, usually more in depth, and we really want to make sure that administrators know what's going on. So the areas where we see the most issues are purpose and description. Sometimes our purpose and description are not tied into our timeline. They are not, they're going to be on, Kaz, they're going to be on the website this afternoon. So your purpose and description needs to go throughout the project. Your standards or your educational stuff needs to tie back to your purpose and description. Your timeline needs to tie back to those, and your budget needs to tie back to those. So definitely make sure they all match, because they often do not. All of a sudden, we'll see something. Yes, the assistant, it just needs to be administrator. We see sometimes where all of a sudden somebody wants a fish tank in their budget, but their project description is chickens, and we're like, I don't know why it's there. So just really, really look through all of that, and definitely put detail. We have also put a minimum word count, not a maximum, a minimum. And we have over the years taken it as low as 100 words. Last year, I want to say 25% of the applications submitted to me had less than 100 words. We will count them. It is in a Word document. All you have to do is highlight it and have the computer count for you. So your purpose and description need to be 100 words. This is your, why are you doing it? What there's a reason why you're doing the project that you're doing. And then how are you going to execute it? Budget. There are some not allowable items. We are not going to pay for salaries. We're not going to pay for really big, we have people, unfortunately, we cannot fund like big printers and those kind of things, because we know that that's not going to just be spent on this one project. And again, we want to fund as many projects as we're going to do. Majority of the time, we do not do transportation, but if it really, really ties into your project, we will consider it. Teacher grants and school gardens can be used for after school clubs. We know much, there's a lot of education that goes on after site, but stipends cannot. We cannot pay stipends for volunteers. They no longer are volunteers if they're getting paid. STEAM clubs, we have 4-H clubs after school. We have garden clubs after school, eco clubs, all those. Chicken coops, anything that deals with chickens is fine. Make sure your school is okay with it. Some school districts don't allow chicken coops within a certain foot distance from the school. So make sure you understand. If you're doing, this is another thing on the budget. If you're doing an embryology program, what are you going to do with the chickens after they grow up? We need to know. We don't want those chickens just running around the woods, feeding other animals. So be specific. On your budget, I know that Amazon is easy to use. And I know that you have to have specific vendors that you have to buy from. But there are some things you really shouldn't buy from Amazon, and there are some places that are cheaper. Anytime you can call a local place to get a dump truck load of soil, you're going to be paying less. We have had people put in for chicken eggs off of Amazon. I don't know how fresh they're going to be and how many you're actually going to get. So definitely look around and see if you can find it at a better place, a better price, and just see how hard it is to have it become a vendor. Timeline, detail, let us know. I've had so many people that even though I've asked for detail, they say we're starting in September and ending in May. That doesn't tell me. You're going to be doing hands-on work and lessons. Tell me how it goes. If you know that it's a quarter and you're doing for the first quarter this, and this, then combine those 3 months together. We just want to see detail. Nutrition education definitely falls under it, especially if they're growing. If they're growing the fruits and vegetables. And I also, anybody that is in an area where the UF IFAS family nutrition, there is a person on staff there, and your school has a certain amount of free and reduced, they will come in and do free nutrition education. So definitely look into that. Any questions so far? Jen, am I missing anything on that?
I have some questions. Can you hear me?
Yep, I can.
Okay. Question 1. Can a school's garden champion submit either of these school grants, or does the application have to be submitted by a teacher?
The teacher's name needs to be on there because the check is going to be written to the school, but the champion can do all the writing and the filling out and all that. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
So a teacher's name can be on it, but the champion can do the write the application and pretty much guide the project, right?
Correct. And just put that information on there. So it's going to say school contact. Put that
Okay.
there, and then underneath it, because it's a Word document, you can type anything you want in it and just say, I'm the garden champion, I'm a volunteer, here's my address, kind of thing.
Okay. Another question. You had said any type of garden can qualify. We were thinking about putting in a sensory garden, so a garden that appears to the eyes, ears, nose, would that count?
Yes, that totally counts.
Okay, great. Next question. Do you know what your funding percentage of the applications was last year? Like kind of what our chances are if we submit a reasonable grant?
So our teacher grant, I think we were able to fund all but one.
Oh, wow.
We will partially fund. Know that too in the teacher grant. Be specific and put itemized stuff in your budget, because we want to fund as many people as we can. And if we
Mhm,
can figure out how to maybe fund you half and have the project still be successful, we'll
mhm.
do that. So definitely with that. School garden, I would say probably about 25% didn't get funded.
Okay.
But most of those were because they just didn't do some of these things. Like we didn't
Okay.
have good applications. We are doing our window different this year too. The school garden grants will only be accepted in August so that we can
Mhm.
process those and fund them in September. Our teacher grants, we usually have them accepted through the beginning of October. We're going to have those open August through September 15th. So we have shrunk the windows.
Okay. And then, thank you for that. And then, what was my other question? This is kind of a different, but maybe related. Florida Ag in the Classroom did like teacher trainings last year. There was one in Jacksonville in June, and I wanted to go, but I missed it. Are you going to do any more of those trainings, that type of training this year?
Yes, we are going to be in Lee County, Sarasota County, Orange County, Martin County, maybe Duval or Flagler, and we are working with Leon County School District to do one up there. So yeah, we have multiples planned throughout this school year. Oh, Miami, we're going back down to Miami as well.
Perfect. Thank you. Um, and then we have several different types of gardens at our school, and we have some existing funding sources. So say would it be reasonable to submit a grant application to you all that says we need $500 of compost and mulch? Or is that not like a complete enough story to fund? Or we just paint the whole picture kind of and then
Paint the
say,
whole picture.
okay.
And there's a section in your budget that says in kind. So this is all anything else. So if you know you're getting funding for that other stuff, let us know. Because if you're just going to have a pile of dirt, we're like, what are you doing with it? So yeah, paint the whole picture.
Okay.
And then I saw a question about installation. Like if you're paying a company for yes, a canopy and installation is part of it, that's okay. We just don't want to pay people to come in and work with your students, that kind of thing.
Okay, that's all my questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I had one other comment too. Oh wait, there's two more messages. Am I keeping up with this? Oh, irrigation is highly recommended. Timers highly recommended. If you have to, if you are doing any of this, make sure you're working with your school district. They do not allow you to do certain things. We've had projects that just got stalled all year long because they were waiting for that to happen. Giant fans, depending on where they are and what they're used for, 100%. We live in Florida. Fans are great. Right now in Orange County, the F&P person asked if January 6th would work for us. So potentially January 6th is that one. There are additional resources in Florida. Jen and I are just two people and we cover the whole state. If you guys have not met Michael Carter with the Florida Department of Agriculture, he is in the Food, Nutrition, and Wellness Department, and he is the Farm to School Outreach. He has amazing knowledge. If you guys were able to come to the Duval County workshop, he is great. Definitely reach out to him. And his email is linked to this, so when we put it on our website. If you are in one of the counties that F&P is allowed to reach out to, definitely click on that, see if somebody is in your neighborhood. First person, if you have any questions about what you can grow, when you can grow, that kind of stuff, reach out to your local extension agent. Jen and I live in North Florida. We can grow very different stuff than what you guys grow in South Florida. So definitely look into that. There is a Grow to Learn guide that UF and FDAX put together. It's awesome. Some of the worksheets are going to be outdated because it was created quite a few years ago, but the basic information is all the same. The School Garden Support Organization is a great resource. They are a national group. Life Lab, I believe, is out of California. They have great lessons. Kids Gardening has lessons. They have PD. So these are extra resources. Miami will be January, and I think Martin County will be February. We are having the FNP people in those areas reach out to the school districts and find the location. So we don't have those. Do I know anything about the FAMU program? I know it's in Tallahassee. I'm sorry. I know that we've presented at teacher workshops there before, but I don't know a lot about the, I'm assuming it's one of those research schools. Oh, go ahead. I have iPhone 171. Are you trying to? Okay. Question was, oh,
No,
sorry.
it isn't.
Okay, go ahead.
My phone's here.
Okay. A good resource for what to plant is your, well, there's an online search. UF IFAS has created this great one where you put in your zip code and it tells you what you can grow when. But call your local extension. They have master gardeners that need volunteer hours. They have people that know what's there. Additional resources are okay as long as you tell us where they're coming from. Workshop is going to be at Vizcaya. We're looking at mid-January right now. Sharon, I don't know what happened. Definitely shoot Jen or I an email. Things come through our website, things get lost in the back end of our website. So I apologize for that. But if any of you guys ever request any of our materials and you don't get it within a month, definitely reach out to us because our website is old. We need to update it, and there are some features that are a little wonky and don't work right. So I apologize for that, but definitely always reach out with a phone call or an email, and we will get that to you as soon as possible. Any other questions? You guys have good questions. Would it be helpful if we shared the documents that you're going to be filling out? Oh, okay. Jen, can you go ahead and do that? So the recipe book question was asked. If those of you that did the recipe contest a few years ago, we worked with Chef Paula with FDAX to do that, and it was wonderful and it was great. Obviously, COVID hit. There is a new chef now at FDAX that said he is excited and he would love to work with us on this. So not sure, but we really want to do it because that recipe contest was amazing. While Jen is pulling this up, if you go to our website and you hover over awards and gardens, that's where you're going to find the stuff. Okay. So this is our school garden grant application. Can you make it bigger? Okay. Nicole, the biggest thing is that school garden grants can only be used for school gardens, and it's only $500. So yes, teacher grants can be anything agriculture. It can be fish, it can be rabbits, it can be sheep, it can be cows, it can be horses, it can be chickens, or it could be really big gardens. So it really is, it's a bigger application, it's a bigger ask, and that's why we require more for it. If you're going to do a full hydroponics garden and it costs $2,000, you're going to want to do the teacher grant. If you're doing embryology or aquaculture, aquaponics, embryology is going to go teacher grant. Aquaponics, depending on how big your project is, will either be teacher grant or school garden grant. There is there are 50 school garden grants available this year, so it's a little bit more than we had last year. So this is what it looks like. You're just going to take this Word document, download it on your computer, and start filling it out. So you'll see that it says purpose, 100 words, a minimum of 100 words. You're going to see the vision statement. We require the vision statement. We put the link for the school garden grant planner so you can look at it. We want to see your team members. You can't do this alone. We know that. Maybe it's parents, maybe it's other teachers. If you don't, yes. If you don't have people, but you know you're going to reach out to them, and maybe just tell us who you're thinking and why. SMART goals. Jen went over the SMART goals. They definitely need to be measurable. You can have qualitative and quantitative. It can be both. New garden, yes or no? A requirement, all you have to say is what lesson you're going to use, what educational standards. Please do not go down and put 3.L. I know I'm not getting the standards right, but don't give us a bunch of numbers that we have to go look up. Tell us what you're going to teach. Is it photosynthesis? Is it reading comprehension? Tell us that kind of stuff. And then one of the things we like to know, and this is just, we also use this for grants and reports and stuff. We want to know how many students are actually willing to try the stuff you grow. I found when I taught that there was a lot of kids, majority of our kids were willing to taste what they ate if they grew it. So that is just gonna, ooh, good question. Do we have examples of successful applications? We definitely do. I will be back in town on Monday, and I will definitely try to find that and then cross off some names and stuff and give those to you. Yeah, I can put that on our website.
I just want to say really quick too, Becky and I don't pick the grant winners. We have a grants committee that is made up of members of our board, and they go through each application, and they're the ones that decide who gets these grants and who doesn't. So saying that is to say they have no clue who you are. They have no clue about your projects. So when you're filling these applications out, you've got to tell the entire story. If they're confused, they don't understand something, they have questions, that's when they, are less likely to fund a project. If you have covered everything, you've utilized the space, you've utilized the more than 100 words, you've explained your project, that those are the ones that they're going to fund, because at the end of the day, you are asking for larger amounts of money, and they just want to understand the whole project, where the funding's going, that it's going to students, all of those things.
And I tried to make it simpler this year by having these documents that you just need to fill in. Jen, can you put the budget up? One of the things that I always tell people when they ask, once you've written your grant application, give it to somebody that has no idea. When I'm writing stuff, I give it to my husband or my sister, and I have them read it. And they tell me if there's questions, because if they have questions, other people are going to have questions. So definitely have somebody read it over, even if it's just your purpose and description, that's fine. So this is what the successful applications will get put on the school garden website or the teacher grant. If there's a defunct garden that we're starting up again, yes, I would consider that a new garden. Does this budget make sense? We're asking for the items. So you do not tell me miscellaneous plants. Tell me tomato plants. How does it tie in? Where are you going to buy it? If you have a link, if you are buying this on, if you're buying it at Home Depot, there's probably a link. Cost per item. How many? Total cost. Your numbers need to add up. It's on Excel. You should be able to pull that down and get a total. We have had multiple times where on the teacher grant, the ask on the front page is different than the budget. You need to make sure those match. Your budget can be, if you're asking for $500 school garden grant and you know that everything's going to cost $650, you can make it be more than 500. That's okay, because no matter what, we can only give you 500. The question was too about if can you use other lessons for embryology? Jen and I are very much in the we don't want to duplicate. We don't want to make our life harder. If there's other organizations that have great lessons, we're not going to take the time to make them. 4-H has great embryology stuff. and highly recommend you using that. The National Ag in the Classroom has poultry and that kind of stuff. So there's no point in Jennifer and I, spending that time. So yes, good question. Does the budget make sense? It is an Excel spreadsheet. It does the math for you. Okay. And then the teacher grant looks pretty much the same, but we do ask for photo documentation so we can kind of get an idea. So wherever you're going to put it, make sure you take a picture. It doesn't have to be a beautiful picture, but if you can, like, if it's a picture of the school and you're putting it right there, you can kind of draw in with a that kind of thing. But scroll up for a second. This one does ask for community volunteer members or farmer industry, because they're most likely, yes, they're bigger projects, but if they're poultry or if you're asking an extension agent, we just want to know how they're involved and what they're doing. If you are doing the teacher grant, because it's a larger ask, we want in kind. We want to know that you're not only asking us for this much money, and that you're trying to go elsewhere. It is not required for the garden grant. It's there in the budget. If you have some in kind, it is not required for the school garden grant. It is required for the teacher grant. Volunteer hours counts as money, but we're looking for discounts. I know Ace Hardware used to give me 10% off. That's in kind. So it doesn't have to be hard. Right. You guys have such good questions. Any other questions? I meant to record this and I totally forgot. But
I did.
oh, great. All right. Well, if you guys ever have questions, email Jen or I. It's going to be on this. Yes, I can't do what I do without Jen. And yeah, vice versa. I am happy to answer questions. If you want to send me your purpose to see if it is okay, send it to me. If we have time to read over, send it back and tell you where to edit it, I will do that. It just depends on when you send it and what projects and travel we have going on. But I am happy to help. We want you guys to do these projects. We want you to succeed in these projects. So we are here to help you any way we can. All right. If there's no other questions, we will get all of the, oh, Nicole, gotcha.
I have one question. So we're putting in a large school garden and food forest. We've got like a multi-year plan. If we want to request more than $500, would we just do the teacher grant? We could do the teacher grant for a school garden. We're not going to do any animals because our school district doesn't permit that. But you said a larger garden project could qualify for the teacher grant?
Larger gardens, more than $500 definitely needs to be
Okay.
a teacher grant. Yep. Good question. All right. Well, we will get all of this on our website as soon as we can. It does open up, and I know all of you guys, you can do, you can, again, you can apply for both grants, but we're going to try to fund as many. So I would highly recommend putting more effort into one than the other, but it doesn't hurt to do. We'll put it on our YouTube channel and we'll put a link for the video. Sharon, I see your hand.
Hi, can we have multiple teachers at a school apply for grants?
No, we only do one school garden grant per school and one teacher grant per school. But if you have multiple teachers that want to do similar projects, come together and write a teacher grant for something bigger, is my suggestion.
Okay, thank you.
One more question. And as long as you apply before the deadline, you'll be considered the same. I think I saw something about the teacher grant, like there are 40 applications accepted. Does it matter when you apply? Or
No,
can you
it does
apply
not.
like the last day?
You can apply the last day. And I know it says on there, we only take the first 40 complete. If yours is not complete, I will tell you and you will be able to resubmit. If we are close to 40, I will put that on the website. We have not hit 40 in like 6 years. So don't let that deter you. We just got we used to get like 80 applications and half of them weren't complete. So it was just a lot of paperwork to send to our board to read through all those. So the question about private schools, we fund private, public, charter. If you are a homeschool co-op and I can write the check to the co-op, we can fund you. Because our funding comes from the license plate, we're not dictated on who we can fund. So we are able to fund a lot of different things. If you are not a teacher and you are thinking, hey, I want to do a community garden or I'm a volunteer organization, we do have a separate grant in the spring. And that is a teacher grant. So those are eligible nonprofit organizations that want to work with students as well. They can apply for that. If you guys have no more questions, you're welcome to hop off, but I'll stay on here for a little bit longer just in case anybody has any more questions.
One more question. Do you partial fund the teacher grants?
Sometimes, yeah, if we can't fully fund them, we will partially fund them. Or so our board members are all over the state, and they have knowledge and stuff. So we have a person that does fish. So sometimes there'll be something really big on that grant application, and he'll be like, "No, I can get this for them for free." So there's going to be times where our board members know where you can get things cheaper, or if they can find donations, whatnot. So yeah, I mean, yeah. I would recommend if you're doing the school garden grants, our goal is to get those checks out by mid-September. So start September, and you can start teaching, you know, some of these lessons, but I would start in September, end in May. Because the grants are due the middle of May so that we get them before you guys leave school. What do you actually do? Just tell you what month we did it. Yeah. And if you guys look on, there's going to be a timeline, and it's broken up with what the months, what are your curriculum connections, and what are your like hands-on pieces. So we broke that up for you. Yeah. Our goal with the school garden grants, since they're due the end of August, our goal is to process all of those grant applications in that week after, or 2 weeks. So our goal with that, oh, I'm sorry, the final report is due in May, and I did not go over that. Our goal is to get everybody their checks by the end of September. The teacher grants will probably be beginning of October-ish. But we're trying to speed up the timeline because I know that it messes, like everybody's going back to school the beginning of August. So we want to help you out as long as it. Yep. And I'm the one that writes checks. So as soon as they get approved by our committee, within the next day, I can get the checks out. And the final report will be very similar to this, like take pictures throughout, keep receipts. Oh, that was another thing for budget. If you've never worked with your bookkeeper before, talk to your bookkeeper. Every receipt you get, take a picture because you're going to have to submit those to me at the end. Sometimes your bookkeeper doesn't give those to you. So any pictures you can take or documentations you can do it. It'll make the final report easier. Anything else?
I have a question. In terms of like equipment that would support garden lessons, something like a microscope, something like a dehydrator, like if you're gonna preserve food, things like those be covered? I know that's kind of maybe borderline.
No, that's great. And Jen and I both, we got these little camera microscopes that hook to your phone. And we use them with our own children. And those are great to look at stuff in the dirt, look up close on the plants. So yes, microscopes are great. If they hook into something where they can digitally see them, that's even better. Food dehydrators are great. If you blenders are okay, crock pots, those kind of things. Oh, Lydia, great question. So if you have, the question is, we can't get both grants. If teacher A applies for the teacher grant and teacher B applies for the school garden grant, those are two different applications. I will accept both of those applications. Yes, those would we, if two teachers applied for at the same school applied for the school garden grant, they wouldn't be eligible, but two different teachers can apply for the two different ones. Oh, I have not used Fetch before. That's very cool. I use
Hi
Adobe
there.
Scan. Hi.
Hi. So I asked earlier about the nutrition education program. It's a pre-designed curriculum that I was a coordinator for an undergrad back in Ohio, in Appalachia, and I've ran it in my classroom a few years ago. But I'm wondering if this would qualify because they're not growing the fruits and vegetables. So it's more just kind of like teaching them basics of cooking and incorporating fruits and vegetables into recipes. So I wasn't sure if that would qualify.
That could qualify for the teacher grant, but I would have to ask our committee what their thoughts are. But yeah, I mean, you're still talking about food, and food is agriculture. So my guess would be yes, but that needs to be a teacher grant since you're not doing a garden.
Of course. Okay, thank you.
All right, Bridget, I see your hand.
Hey, so my question is, we have a private school for K through 12, and then we also have a preschool, and it's in the same building essentially. We just have different wings of the building. And so would that be one collective grant? Because we are two different entities. And so the preschool would obviously do something more age appropriate with the smaller ones over on their side. And then on the school side, on the K through 12 side, we would, obviously have a whole different curriculum and expectation for our older students. Are those two separate school grants because they are in fact two different EINs, but it is the same property?
Yeah, especially if they have two different EINs. But yes, they would be two separate entities. We had another one, same thing. It was elementary, it was part of one private school on one location in one building, and then the high school, middle school was on another. So yes, definitely two different grants.
Perfect. Thank you.
Mhm.
I have a question.
Okay.
Yes, more or less similar like Bridget just mentioned about different projects in one school. For example, I have pre-K all the way to 5th grade, and they are being participating in the garden before. So can I do a grant involving as a whole, or it's necessary to do two different grants?
Jen, can you, I'm sorry, I'm trying to wrap. Can you explain it one more time?
Okay, no problem. Okay, I am a UCP Pine Hills. I've been participating in gardening for years. I always involve preschool all the way to 5th grade. And this year I want to do the same thing. And I want to reach out for teacher grant because it's more money for us to create a better view of what really want to do. So my question is, can I keep on doing it in one grant, or I need to separate it because the preschool is, we are in the same building, but I don't know if that would affect.
It's probably easier for you to put it all in one, since you're the main person. So I would put it all in one and do a teacher grant, is my thought.
Okay. Another question. So in my vision right now is to do it like a chicken coop if my principal allows it, and use the feces for fertilizer, the soil for planting. And that is a good idea, or what do you think about it?
If soil is a good budget item, is that what you're asking?
For example, I've seen a lot of videos about using the drops of the chicken for putting in the soil. That way we can make the soil more equipped with nutrients for planting. Do you feel that is something that you are not approve, or do you do approve that?
That has to do with your school policy. So
Okay.
with students possibly eating the food that comes from those gardens or what you're growing,
Yes.
you're going to have to talk to somebody at your
principal.
school or somebody within your district to decide, to get the answer of whether that's allowed or not. Some districts don't, because if it's for human consumption, they don't want programs doing that. So it's district specific. So you'll have
Oh,
to ask and find out within your district.
okay then. Thank you. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. And the multiple grants thing, I mean, the best way to sum this up is our grants committee wants to fund as many projects as they can. If there's multiple projects at one school and we've received many grant applications, across the state, they're going to try to fund projects across the state. They don't necessarily want to fund 2 or 3 projects at one school. So that's why we're saying, make sure that you're working with other individuals in your school. We're also saying that because for sustainability of your programs, we have been doing this for quite some time, and they will last longer if you have help and if you are utilizing other staff and teachers within the school to do one garden or a bigger project. So that's why we're just telling you guys that as far as funding multiple projects. We also see a lot of times in the bigger teacher projects that a teacher is applying for multiple individual little projects, but putting it into one big teacher project, which tends to get a little confusing. So the goal there with the teacher grants is that, it does extend to anything under agriculture, but it's also to fund those bigger projects, not, rabbits, chickens, and a garden. Pick something, concentrate on it, grow that. Don't try to, stick your fingers in too many pots at one time, because we also see that hindering programs when they've got too many things going on. They just can't balance all of that out. So that's just something to consider when you're filling out these grants is, our committee strives to fund as many as they can statewide.
And we had a question on robotics. Jen and I actually got to go to a workshop this summer at the national conference, and an Alabama 4-H program presented this robotics thing. And I don't know, Jen, if you remember the name of these things, but it was the coolest thing. These kids had to code to get this tractor to drive correctly, and then they had to build an implement, and the implement had to, which is like a tiller harvester, had to then go over the beans, get the beans, and it was just really cool. So as long as you can tie it into agriculture, there is so much robotics and mechanics in agriculture. Anytime you can tie it in, that's great. And again, as Jen was saying, you got too many things, but we see people that this is their first grant and they want to do a half acre. Like, don't do a half acre. We live in Florida. Our soil's not great. Anytime you can build up and add soil, you're going to have a better chance. Plus, you're going to have less weeds. Bridget, do you still have a question, or is that just your hand was raised earlier?
No, my hand is still up. I need to put it down.
No, I'm really bad with that too. All right, got about 10 more minutes, but if you guys are done asking questions, again, we know it's your last week of summer. Where do we recommend? You can get really creative with your beds. I personally, in my bed, I have metal, and I actually got mine from Amazon, so there's that. But probably, I recommend the metal ones. I do get mine from Amazon, so I don't know. You probably could get them at Lowe's, Home Depot. But you need to make sure they're a minimum of 12 inches high, just so there's enough room for the roots. Oh yeah, the robots were from Edison using Ed Scratch. Yeah, they were so cool. We're definitely going to buy some and do them at some workshops. My son is in robotics, so I've seen some of the competition, and he's in middle school. It's very cool. Way over my head though. All right. Well, I appreciate you guys coming on here. And again, if you have any questions, email us, call us. Email is probably faster because we are in and out of the office quite a bit. You are welcome. All right. I guess we will go ahead, unless there's more questions, we're gonna go ahead and end this, and I appreciate you guys doing this.